Hello! Today we are talking about a reading strategy that we use sometimes, which is called making inferences. And we will get to the definition of inference in just a minute, but I want to start by doing a warm-up activity with you. So I'm going to show you some pictures of people doing things, and I want you to, in your own words, describe how the characters are, or how the people are feeling, or what their emotions are.
How does this boy feel? How does this girl feel?
So what you just did is you made inferences about what those people were feeling based on what you saw and what you already know. For example, when you see someone frowning, you already know that usually a frown means that someone is sad. So you can make the inference that they're feeling sad because of that. We are going to focus on making inferences in books. So in books, when you make an inference, that means you go beyond what the author's words are and you use your own knowledge to draw your own conclusions about what is happening. And so this is the book we are going to be reading. It's called Those Shoes, and it is by Maribeth Boelts. And we are going to be making inferences about the character's feelings. And right here, this is the main character. His name is Jeremy. So while we're reading, I want you to pay attention to how Jeremy's feelings are changing from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And we know how a character is feeling because of their actions, their words, and their thoughts. So we're going to really be paying attention to those three things for Jeremy and using the text evidence and our own knowledge to infer what he is feeling. So this is a wonderful book that has a very important message about things that you need in your life and things that you want in your life. And so the main character, Jeremy, really wants these cool new shoes that all the other kids at his school have. But what he needs is new snow boots for winter. So let's read to find out how he solves his problem and pay attention to how Jeremy's feelings change as I read. I have dreams about those shoes. Black high tops, 2 white stripes. So I already can make an inference because Jeremy says, I have dreams about those shoes. Usually I know when I'm having dreams about something, it's because I really like that thing or I really want it. So I'm already going to make an inference and say that Jeremy feels hopeful. Grandma, I want them. There's no room for want around here, just need, Grandma says. And what you need are new boots for winter. Brandon T comes to school in those shoes. He says he's the fastest runner now, not me. I was always the fastest before those shoes came along. Nate comes to school in those shoes. Antonio and I count how many times Nate goes to the bathroom. 7 times in one day, just so he can walk up and down the hallway real slow. Next, Alan, Jacoby, and Terrence each get a pair. Then one day in the middle of kickball, one of my shoes comes apart. Looks like you could use a new pair, Jeremy, Mr. Elfrey, the guidance counselor, says. He brings out a box of shoes and other stuff he has for kids who need things. He helps me find the only shoes that are my size, Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears. They have an animal on them from a cartoon I don't think any kid ever watched. All right, again, I'm going to make an inference. Because he said Velcro, like the ones my little cousin Marshall wears, I'm thinking maybe Jeremy feels like only little kids wear Velcro shoes. And he probably feels like he's a little bit too old because he knows how to tie his own shoes. So because he is saying that these Mr. Elfrey shoes are like the shoes that his little cousin wears, I'm going to infer that Jeremy feels embarrassed. When I come back to the classroom, Alan Jacoby takes one look at my Mr. Elfrey shoes and laughs, and so do Terrence, Brandon T, and everyone else. The only kid not laughing is Antonio Parker. At home, Grandma says, "How kind of Mr. Elfrey." I nod and turn my back. I'm not going to cry about any shoes. But when I'm writing my spelling words later, every single word looks like the word shoes. And my grip is so tight on my pencil, I think it might bust. Why do you think that Jeremy is, if he's gripping his pencil so tight that it might bust, what does that mean he's feeling? So you might have said maybe he's feeling frustrated, maybe he's feeling disappointed, maybe he's kind of sad or upset. These are all true, I think. On Saturday, Grandma says, let's check out those shoes you've been wanting so much. I got a little bit of money set aside, might be enough, you never know. At the store, Grandma turns those shoes over so she can check the price. When she sees it, she sits down heavy. Maybe they wrote it down wrong, I say. Grandma shakes her head. Then I remember the thrift shops. What if there's a kid who outgrew his or got 2 pairs for Christmas and had to give one of them away? We ride the bus to the first thrift shop. Black cowboy boots, pink slippers, sandals, high heels, every kind of shoes except the ones I want. We ride the bus to the second shop, not a pair of those shoes in sight. Around the corner is the third thrift shop. I see something in the window. Black shoes with 2 white stripes, high tops, perfect shape, $2.50. Those shoes. My heart is pounding as I take off my shoes and hitch up my baggy socks. How exciting, Grandma says. What size are they? I shove my foot into the first shoe, curling my toes to get my heel in. I don't know, but I think they fit. Grandma kneels on the floor and feels for my toes at the end of the shoe. Oh, Jeremy, she says, I can't spend good money on shoes that don't fit. I pull the other shoe on and try to walk around. They're okay, I say, holding my breath and praying that my toes will fall off right then and there. Why would Jeremy want his toes to fall off? What does that mean? If you said maybe the shoes are too tight and that he is feeling sad or unhappy, I agree with you. I buy them anyways with my own money and I squeeze them on and limp to the bus stop. At home, a few days later, Grandma puts a new pair of snow boots in my closet and doesn't say a word about my 2 big feet shuffling around in my 2 small shoes. Sometimes shoes stretch, I say. Grandma gives me a hug. I check every day, but those shoes don't stretch. I have to wear my Mr. Elfries to school instead. One day during math, I glance at Antonio's shoes. One of them is taped up, and his feet look smaller than mine. After school, I head to the park to think. Antonio is there, the only kid who didn't laugh at my Mr. Elfries shoes. We shoot baskets. A loose piece of tape on Antonio's shoes smacks the concrete every time he jumps. I think, I'm not going to do it. We leap off the swings. I'm not going to do it. We race from one end of the playground to the other. I'm not going to do it, I say. Do what? Antonio says, breathing hard. Grandma calls me for supper and invites Antonio over too. After supper, he spies my shoes. How come you don't wear them? Antonio asks. I shrug. My hands are sweaty. I can feel him wishing those shoes were his. That night, I am awake for a long time thinking about Antonio. When morning comes, I try on my shoes one last time. Before I can change my mind, the shoes are in my coat. Snow is beginning to fall as I run across the street to Antonio's apartment. I put the shoes in front of his door, push the doorbell, and run. At school, Antonio's smiling big in his brand new shoes. I feel happy when I look at his face and mad when I look at my Mr. Elfries shoes. But later, when it's time for recess, something happens. Everywhere there is snow. Leave your shoes in the hall and change into your boots, the teacher said. Leave your shoes in the hall. It's then I remember what I have in my backpack. New boots. New black boots that no kid has ever worn before. Standing in line to go to recess, Antonio leans forward. Thanks. I smile and give him a nudge. Let's race. The end. How does Jeremy feel about his decision to give his black and white high top shoes to Antonio? And how do you know this?
Great work today. Making inferences is not as hard as it seems. It's just when you go beyond the author's words to understand what is happening in the story that might not be said in the text. So keep practicing making inferences when you read other books.